Welcome everybody to 31 Days of Horror, and the third film that we're looking at for this season is 1973's The Severed Arm. So this is directed by Thomas S. Alderman. I've not seen anything else from him before, and that's principally because I don't think he has done anything else before or since. And yeah, this is a horror film, of course, clocking it at 91 minutes long. Stars, and I'm using massive quotation marks here, Deborah Wally, who was in an extremely minor role in the Dr. Goldfoot and the Bikini Machine film with Vincent Price. Also, Paul Carr, who was in the film Ben, which was a follow up to the film Willard, as well as Raise the Titanic. And finally, John Crawford, who I have actually seen in a fair decent amount of films, 12 other ones in fact, but for the most part, it was in uncredited or really small roles. The only properly leading role that I've seen him in a film is Night Moves with Gene Hackman, who was the third lead in that one. But it was in other horror films like The Boogans and I Saw What You Did with Joan Crawford. So, yeah, trapped in a cave, five men cut the arm off another companion in order to ward off starvation. After they are saved, though, their victim seeks revenge on them one by one. So, this is an overall solid effort, which is despite its premise not being fully satisfyingly done. And a cast that is rather hit or miss. There's certainly certain actors in this that, yeah, really aren't selling the script all that well. That said, the pacing is generally on point. It is predominantly engaging. It has a lo-fi charm to its execution, and it is definitely a low-budget effort. Although could be a lot more low budget if it would have been shot 10 or 15 years later, because it would have been then probably shot on video. It is at least shot on film, so it's not entirely cheap. It's got a well executed conclusion. The violence is reasonably done. It has a decent score, and a couple of cast members are good enough. But like I said, the cast is generally hit or miss. You might have one that is good, but then you'll have one or two that aren't. And yeah, that doesn't exactly help the film in a lot of ways. So yeah, it gets 3 out of 5. Like I said, the premise isn't fully satisfyingly executed. I just think that it could have gone on a little bit step further with the psychological elements about dealing with this kind of situation where you're trapped in this cave, you're starving, you're running out of water. It just doesn't feel like a good enough build up to the whole, oh, we've got to sever someone's arm off to feed ourselves. And then after that, yeah, it just feels a bit of a more routine slasher film. Although, granted, this is a good few years before the likes of Halloween would come out and such. But yeah, and add on to that, there is some scenes of filler as well that I just don't feel like make the most of the running time either. But on the whole, a good enough film. 3 out of 5. Nothing dreadful, but yeah, could definitely see this being done a lot better under the right circumstances and in the right hands. So yeah, this is a release via Vinegar Syndrome, I think it was. Yeah, Vinegar Syndrome. I've had this a while actually, and I've been meaning to get round to it. It actually came out in 2020. I do apologise. I am still suffering from a cold, as you can probably tell. But yeah, really nice slip cover to this one. It's based on the actual original poster, the look of that. And then you got the reverse. And the disc, as well as the artwork again on the front. So yeah, it had a newly rescanned and restored in 4K restoration from its 35mm original negative. So they have done a decent enough job in terms of restoring it, but it's not perfect. There are still some issues with the film quality, and such. But you also got Severing the Past, an interview with actor Vince Martorano, a cut above the rest, an interview with producer Gary Elderman, promotional still gallery, and you got the reversible cover artwork as well here, as I'll show you, which I don't think really makes sense within the context of the film, as no woman is actually harmed in this. No woman is even targeted, in fact, by the guy out holding an axe. So yeah, that's a bit of a nonsensical reverse sleeve artwork. To be honest, it doesn't make sense in the context of the film. But overall, a decent enough effort, and yeah, one that I do recommend trying to seek out if you can find it for cheap enough. Obviously, be Vinegar Syndrome. It's a US release, and if you're not in the US, it's probably harder to find. And yeah, given this came out about 5 years ago, it's probably not easy to find anyway, especially with the slipcover, which I imagine is quite rare now. But yeah, overall, like I said, 3 out of 5, solid enough effort. But yeah, like I also said, could easily have been a much better film under the right hands in the right director with a much bigger budget, as you can certainly see the limitations of the budget in certain regards. But yeah, overall, I enjoyed it enough, and only 91 minutes, it hardly outstayed its welcome. So yeah, but nonetheless, if you have seen this film before, I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.